The Oregon School Boards Association OSBA Executive Committee meeting on Tuesday, May 14th, 2024 is called to order at 12:31 p.m. Welcome everybody. Roll call is taken and all executive committee members are in attendance. The next agenda item was to approve the agenda. The presiding officer entertains a motion.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
The move to approve the agenda. The intent as presented and it's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing there is no discussion, is there any objection to the motion? Seeing there is no objection to the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is Executive Director updates. Emily.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to provide a really quick update on happenings with OSBA, and you should have been receiving an update from me, a weekly update from me that I will be doing my best to get out each Friday, just trying to keep you all in the full board updated on the work that is happening at OSBA and staffing changes as we continue to kind of build out the team from some of the vacancies that we've had with due to retirements and folks leaving. So I sent out an update on Friday announcing some of the staff changes. We're really, really excited to have Stefan Kibbs join us. He is our new People Operations Director. He started yesterday and comes to us from the city of Portland. He has a lot of human resources and employee engagement experience in the public sector, both at the city of Portland, Multnomah County, also at OHSU. And I think we'll just really provide great support to Haley and I and the rest of the whole team in being able to kind of build out that program for our employees. So I'm really excited about that and looking forward to digging into the work and for you all to meet him. In addition to that, we have Adrienne Anderson, who is joining us as a legislative policy specialist. She will be starting on Monday the 20th and comes with us with a really unique background in terms of being a prosecutor for Multnomah County, but has done a lot of work in restorative justice. In her specialization was in the juvenile system most recently, and also has experience working in policy down in Salem in the Capitol. She worked for LPRO, so kind of has a really, I think, unique and interesting background and something that Haley and I had talked a lot about, and along with Lori and Efren, of having someone who's a practicing attorney be in that role will be really helpful for the team, because a lot of the work, as you all know, that the legislative team does, especially as it relates to PACE, but really a lot of our work is really technical and legal in nature. And so having somebody who can help with that work and alleviate some of the taking it over to the legal team to have them review and having it happen within the policy team, I think will just be a huge asset to our team. So we're really looking forward to having those two individuals join us. And I'm hopeful I can get another update out to you all next week with the announcement on the finance director of finance and people operations role. So we're very close to having that tied up as well. So our director team is changing and we're getting ready for that kind of transition and change. We're having a leadership team, diversity, equity, and inclusion focused training tomorrow as part of our continued equity work here. And that will really focus on culturally responsive supervision and also provide time for our team, our leadership team, who really hasn't had a lot of time to kind of dig in and get to know each other, and incorporating these new team members on that team. So I'm looking forward to that. And just continue to look for updates from me. And if there's things that I'm not sharing that you want to know more about or you think would be helpful, please just let me know and I'm happy to incorporate that. And kind of the flip side of that is Haley is also doing a similar update with the staff as well, so that we're sort of making sure that all the information is being shared both with the staff and externally with you all.
Emily, can you pronounce Stefan's last name again, please?
Yeah, so he actually just recently changed his last name, so it's Kibbs. So it is different than what I sent out in the email. Stefan Kibbs.
Hibbs,
K-I-B-S.
Thank you.
Oh, I just wanted to make a couple of comments. First of all, I want to thank you for the commitment of time to look for these folks and draft these positions that are going to be vitally important to the growth of the organization. I just in my background and my experience with HR, I think that role is going to be vitally important. Despite the size of the organization, HR and culture is a critically important piece. Everything from the way that you onboard, orient people to the organization, support them, as they enroll in benefits, as they do their evaluations every year. It's a really critically key important role. And I believe that is going to be something that's going to be really support to the OSBA staff as you continue to grow. So I applaud you for that. Just really excited to see the new folks coming in and the work that they're going to do. So much appreciation for all that, Emily.
Other comments, questions?
Well, I'll just echo that. I know it takes, I've been on the other side of hiring new people, and I know it takes, it's an extensive amount of work to conduct a search and to conduct interviews and to organize that so that it's an effective search. And I frankly, I don't know how our staff did it, but Emily, you led that effort, and I know it was a group effort, and Haley, I know you were part of that. But I too am very excited about these two people and the third position being filled. And congratulations. I agree 100% with Sonia when she says this is going to be vital to OSBA going forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Emily. I want to echo what has been shared and add to it is while that as an executive director, you create the organizational structure that works for the organization. And thank you for keeping the board and executive committee appraised of those developments and changes. I want to really highlight the importance of the steps that you have taken and having an HR or human people's director. And I'm going to quote a person in management who might be controversial, so you got to take what he said with grains of salt. But I think that what I'm going to quote is not going to be controversial at all. His name is Jack Welch, former CEO of GE, and there are some pieces of wisdom he had, and some pieces of knowledge or practices that some will disagree with. But what I would agree with 100%, he says, if you take care of your people, they're going to take care of your business. And if you take care of the people and they're taken care of, they're going to take care of the people that they serve. And that's why he said, I think if I'm quoting correctly, the most important person you hire is the CEO. The second most important person you hire is the HR director or VP of HR, whatever fills that position for that reason. So I think that's part of what any organization winning a formula, in my opinion, and I think I would agree with him on that one. So with that, thank you, Emily, and thanks, team, for the good remarks.
Thank you, everyone. And Haley definitely took the lead on working with the search firm on this. So I want to give her credit there. And then Lori did a great job on the hire for the legislative. So I'm just here supporting.
Any further questions, comments? See none, we will be transitioning to another agenda item to consider attorney-client privilege information or records that are otherwise exempt by law from public inspection regarding legal advice, informational only. And the executive session, before we enter to it, I have to read some remarks. The OSBA Executive Committee will now enter executive session to consider attorney-client privilege information or records that are otherwise exempt by law from public inspection regarding legal advice. The executive session is held pursuant to ORS 192, section 660, subsection 2, subsection F, to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection, and ORS 192, 355, section 9, subsection 9, and ORS 40, section 225. The executive committee and OSBA staff members, Emily Nishik, Haley Purcell, and Lionel Trissel, will now be moved into a breakout room for the duration of the executive session. Members of the media are permitted to attend. However, media are not permitted to disclose information discussed in the executive session. All other staff and members of the public will remain in the meeting room. No decisions will be made in this executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session, and the session participants will again join the meeting room. The meeting recording can be paused at this time. And we'll give Linnell a minute to pause the recording and open the breakout room. Please accept to join the breakout room when that's available. And remaining staff and members of the public will see you soon as we're over with the executive session. Executive session is now adjourned. We are returning to open session. Please wait a moment while everyone returns to the meeting room. Got everybody? The executive session is adjourned. The next item on the agenda, we are in public meeting, open meeting session. And next item on the agenda, number 5, review June's board meeting agenda discussion. You have received an attachment with the June 15th agenda items. And I will hand it over to you, Emily, for any any remarks about it.
So you can see from the agenda that it's pretty packed for a 3-hour virtual meeting. And so I do have a couple of questions in here for you all on maybe items that we could push to the retreat in September, just to allow for us to be able to get through all of the content, because there's pretty important content for this meeting. So the consent agenda is kind of the standard consent agenda items on there for end of year. So you can expect to see the end of year reports from all of the departments and from myself, and we'll tie that back to the work plans and goals of each department. We are trying to make those a little bit shorter for you all. I think in our January packet, that packet was a little over 200 pages, which just feels a little bit overwhelming for board members to get through. And so I am asking the directors to kind of pare down what they're providing so that the important information gets in front of you all. And to have it be a little bit more uniform in how it's being presented. Also included in there, and I included in it an update so just people can start planning for it. The annual retreat is set for Salishan. And oh, sorry, nope, this is the annual convention. You all did get an update that the annual retreat is happening at Salishan this year. So we'll head over to the coast. That will be happening. And then item G is the place and time for the annual meeting that is within our bylaws that we're required to hold. That will happen after convention, at convention on Saturday. One of the big topics is item 4 on the agenda, which is the Coraggio group. So Susan, who has been helping facilitate our priorities discussions through this time period in our action plans, will be coming and presenting I'll be presenting with her as well on the full Coraggio report and plan moving forward. So that will include the top 3 priorities that we identified and worked with Coraggio on in cross-functional teams over 3 3-hour meetings to really develop action plans and implementation plans moving forward to be able to take the work and feedback that we receive from our membership, from you all, from staff, and from the rest of our constituents, and put that into some actionable items that both improve staff experience and really get to increasing the revenue and stability of the organization and ensuring that we're meeting the needs of our membership. So that will be, we will provide the full report ahead of time, and then she's not going to go through it in depth. So we really are, and I'm going to send us a specific email asking folks to read that ahead of time. It's a long deck. And so wanting to have that be more of a discussion and time for board members and directors to be able to ask questions of us and kind of how we got to the outcomes that we did, and provide more of a discussion time. We will go over the highlights, but we won't go slide by slide because it's quite a bit of information and don't want to take up too much of the meeting. Then we'll go into the Finance and Budget Committee update, and that will also include, hopefully, the Budget Committee is meeting next week. Hopefully include a recommendation from that committee to move forward with the dues proposal, the dues increase, which is also tied to the Coraggio report. So we'll kind of lay the foundation for that in the Coraggio update, and then hopefully have that recommendation from the committee to move that forward. Next will be our proposed budget for 24-25. That will also go to the budget committee next week. And I'll do a brief update I'll do an in-depth written report on my year-end report. And then that's one that I'm kind of using if we need to shorten time, I can do it brief, or I can go more in depth, or just answer questions for folks, but I'll provide my year-end report. And then the governance committee will be providing recommendations to the board for adoption. And that I anticipate taking a good amount of time. Haley and Sammy and team have been doing a lot of work reviewing our bylaws, and also the executive director process for the evaluation, both for this year and for next year. And so I anticipate there being a lot of discussion and needing a bit of time around that one. And then I will also be bringing forward my 24-25 goals to the board. And we'll have draft goals for you all at the June 11th, I believe it is, executive committee. So you can see those ahead of time and provide any feedback before they go to the full board. And this is one, item 10, OSBA scholarships. This is the one that was brought forward from a director who is wanting to have the discussion around whether or not we reinstate OSBA scholarships for any NSBA events. And so I wanted to get the sense from this group if that was okay pushing this to the September meeting just due to time constraints. And because it's not going to make it into the budget for this year. The budget will be voted on during this meeting. And so any changes would be for the following year, but just kind of wanted to pause here and get folks' thoughts on either keeping that for this June meeting and having the conversation, or moving it to when we have a little bit more time in September.
I'll go first. I'm in agreement on pushing that back for a couple of reasons. I think once board members have a sobering look at our budget and the impacts that have happened to our budget this year and how that impacts our operating budget for next year, that conversation will be very different after we've passed the budget, knowing what's been impactful to the budget this year and then what we're looking at for next year. I think that the conversation about scholarships, the available resources for scholarships, and that the need for those scholarships, that conversation can be best suited at the retreat. So I'm all in favor.
Well, I agree with Sonia in the rationale. I almost wonder, though, if we should just have that, we'll just have heard the budget issues. I wonder if we could just deal with that issue at the meeting and get it over with, rather than put it off. I'm not definite. I'd like to hear what the rest of the board feels, because I agree with Sonia that it was a good decision when we made it to eliminate those scholarships. And I think that the rationale for maintaining that decision is stronger now than it was when we made it. So pushing it back, I'm just kind of one, I like to just deal with things and get them over with. But I do feel like this is a lot of content for this meeting. So I understand that concern.
I have a couple of things to share about this, but Don, Emily, I'll defer to you first if you have thoughts. If I don't see unmuting, I'll go. Don, go for it.
I was going to agree with Chris. Another thing that she didn't say is that this was a board of directors brought this up, and I feel like pushing it back may cause some more challenge. Like it just may not look like we're as open, and so I really want to be considerate of people's requests, and I know that we are, but if you push it back to September, that's an awful long time for the request. And I just want to be considerate when people request something to do it in a timely manner, and I'm not sure September would be considered a timely manner.
I want to put back to this group the following question. First of all, I think there's a governance question here. The scholarship program, when enacted, was operated or governed by the executive branch or the executive director and staff by awarding the scholarships according to a certain model. I believe it was by congressional district for the Advocacy Institute, for the purposes of having equitable access to the congressional delegation when we were awarding those scholarships. So there was a method, there was a budget, method of selection, and a budget allocation that the executive director and staff were governing for us as board members applying to. And really there's a question mark that we need to be aware of, which is how is this process governed, and should we remain diligent in making sure how this budget is allocated is under the discretion of the executive director, and the board not taking it away. So that's the first question I think we need to be mindful of if we bring this back to the conversation. The second question is, if we don't have the budget for it, where are we going to take the money out from? And is that a budget question for this year? So if we bring it back this meeting, we need to be aware that's again, it's a decision for the September. There was a question from the board director about the process of how caucuses are awarding scholarships, and I think that has been answered, but we can provide that answer again as a reminder that the caucuses govern their own scholarship program through a specific method. Another point of information that would be valuable is that the last conference for NSBA, we had 54 attendees, a combination of board members, staff, and but it is the highest I think ever we had from Oregon, and this is without the scholarship. So with all of these things in mind, I think they need to be in consideration. And at the end, I want to bring back to this group, just like where are you going to take the money from? How much time do you want to allocate for this point of agenda item? So we are committed to equitable time allocation for this agenda item, and we don't take away from agenda item 11 and 12, which are also as important or very important for the board to review. So I'm going to throw in a number. Is 10 minutes enough for us to allocate for this and commit to 10 minutes unless the majority of the board decide differently, or should we put more?
Sammy, I'm wondering, I think 10 minutes is fine with me. I'm good with that. How about putting this discussion directly after the budget instead of in number 7 before executive director, just get it over with whenever it's fresh in their mind and connect of everybody. I didn't think, I forgot that this was a board member request, and especially under the climate, I feel like it's reasonable to respond to that request. Even though we may not personally feel like this is what we think we need to spend time on. I think we need to honor our process, but I think 10 minutes is plenty. Yep, I agree.
Emily?
Yeah, I think so too. I think a brief discussion right after the budget would be good.
Okay. And is the information I just shared, you think sufficient, too much to share at the beginning, at the top of the discussion as an overview? Emily?
I probably wouldn't say the part about how many were still able to attend, because if your specific district isn't going to pay for you to go, it doesn't really matter how many other people will get to go.
Okay.
Makes sense.
That's a good point. Absolutely. Sonia?
Yeah, I'm agreeable to 10 minutes of discussion. That's fine. And this is not personal. This is not about not allowing someone to speak. It's about the ability to identify, discuss, and potentially look at resources to update our budget. And that's not something that's really not going to be able to be done in this meeting. And that is the reason why there was a consideration to move it back. This is always my thoughts and comments on this are not about anyone's personal requests. This is about how this impacts the work that Emily does, about the organization and the resources. We need to always be centered on our role as board of directors is looking at our fiduciary responsibility, not looking at personalities and personal requests. So I'm agreeable to the 10 minutes and doing it after the budget. It's fine with me.
All right, anything else about it? Emily and Nishik, do you feel we labored this enough for us to move forward?
Yes, I should have prefaced, this was just, you all already had the discussion of whether or not you wanted to have this on a full agenda. So it was just more around the timing of that. And I think that works. So we'll have Linnell make that adjustment. And then lastly on here, we have an executives item number 11 is an executive session that hopefully we will likely not need on there, but it's on there as kind of a placeholder. And then same with item 12. So that one will likely need to occur, but it kind of just depends on how things progress on there. And that is everything.
Awesome. So with permission from the committee and in coordination with Linnell and Emily, we talked about 10 minutes for one agenda item. We talked about things may evolve differently. Are you all okay with that? We pre-allocate timing for each agenda item and see how we go. And at the beginning of each agenda item, I'll say how much we're going to go for. And I want to ask for your assistance and support is that we just highlight the importance of the whole agenda. So if we go over time, we're going to move forward unless the majority of the board decides to extend, but also being mindful that we need to finish the whole business in 3 hours. So what I'll do is work with Emily and Linnell on putting timeline for each one of them and go from there. Does that sound a good plan?
I'm very supportive of that. And also putting that on the agenda so our board members see that we're on that time frame. We're trying to be respectful of their time as well as staff time, and that we are allowing discussion, but not unlimited discussion. So I think that's a good message and precedent to set, Sammy. So I appreciate that. I think that's a good direction to go.
Yeah. In my local one, they do it in the chair's script as a planned time, but even transparently with the full board planned time, maybe we can do that. So everybody knows how long we're gonna work on each one. Cool. Anything else on reviewing the agenda for the board meeting on June? See none. The next agenda item is for the good of the order. As a reminder, this is for any executive committee members or staff comments or agenda items for future consideration by this executive committee or for future consideration for the full board that you want to introduce or you may have received as a request from a board member or constituents. Is there anything for the good of the order? See none. Is there any? Oh, Chris,
Yeah,
please.
Sammy, I have something. I do need to let the executive committee know and our staff know that I may have to miss the meeting on Thursday. I'm hoping not to miss it entirely, but I have a family health issue that needs to be taken care of. So if at best I'll be off camera, and I do hope to be available, but I just need to let you know that that's come up. So I will be hopefully there, but not on camera.
Thank Chris and thinking of you and your family. All right. Anything else for the good of the order? Seeing none, is there any objection to adjourn the meeting? See, there is no objection. We are adjourned and have a wonderful rest of your day and see you soon.